Hello, I am Ugni, and I am originally from Alpha Centauri. Then I lived for many centuries in the Pleiades. You can say I'm from both places. Alpha Centaurians are very driven to acts of service. They are problem solvers. We have an emotional body, but it's not very accessible to us, and so we can be read as cold from the distance. We experience social anxiety because low vibration entities colonized our planet and held us captive for a long time. Pleiadians are quite different. They are healers and communicators in touch with their emotions. They have the energy of writers, spiritual teachers, and public speakers. We have lots of ideas but need some help in implementing them. You can say I am a mixed race galactic queer at your service. Today, I am telling my Nugi that I am a Hunsinha. It could be difficult to reveal things like that. We will see. I'm looking for advice in the archives. Here I go.
There's like very specific gosh, what will I call them? Signposts, like little like this thing happened, y luego esto, and then this. So I think my first crush was in first grade, I think. And it was this boy named Diego, and I thought he was just the cutest. And I was like, oh my God, like you should come over. We're gonna play Caballeros del Zodiaco. And I just remember being really aware that I was like, I find this boy very attractive. Like I think he's very cute and he's very sweet and he makes me feel very safe and very happy. And I think by then my sisters had enough gay men around them in their lives that I think I was like, oh yeah, I think that's actually what this is. Okay, cool. And I also knew the way that I also grew up hearing my brothers and my dad making photo jokes. So I was like, cool. So here's what is emerging as like a natural relationship between like the gay man as like funny, a joke, and also potentially not great. And also like these straight men who are like hoping you'll turn out like them, and also like they're dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I also, I think, always associated like my dad and my brothers with like a very interesting kind of danger, right? Where it was like, they love me and also like, I don't trust them. And so I think for a long time, I was like, cool, this is just something I'm going to keep quiet and just like just be silent about it. And then I got to the United States, and in the U.S., I think because I started off in an English as a second language class, we were also worried about like, oh my God, we don't know English. That we didn't like we were just like, let's just all protect each other. It's fine.
Right.
So there was no time to. It was interesting because then there was no time to worry about like, well, am I being a little too femmy or gay or whatever? Because it was like, well, it doesn't matter, y'all. Like, no one can understand us, so let's just we're all sticking together. and it, you know, I learned English very quickly because I also think before my parents were ever corrective about femininity, I think they were first and foremost concerned about my passing of Americanness, right? Like that. I think they were more concerned about that. They were like, this kid's kind of fruity, but we have things to worry about. Just make sure you learn the language. And so I think I we came here when I was in 4th grade. By the time I got to 5th grade, I spent 1 week in an ESL class in 5th grade. And then right away, they moved me to an English only class. And once I got to English only, I think people were like, are you? And I'm like, what do you mean? And I remember in 6th grade, I told my friend that I had a crush on this boy named David. I confessed this on the playground in 6th grade, but it was in elementary school, so there was still a playground, and I was like, I think I like David. This kid named Danny. This kid named Danny heard it, I guess, heard the conversation. And the next day he walks into the cafeteria during lunch and he goes, Jesus is gay, he likes David. And I was like, fuck.
Oh man, fucking
But
kid.
I wasn't in the cafeteria, I was outside. I was eating a sandwich and I was like, so I just see like a throng of 6th grade children coming towards me, and like it was a very like Beauty and the Beast, like torches, pitchforks, like, and I was like, fuck. So I remember like I climbed up to the little ramp that led to the portable, and I stood behind the railing and I held on to it like it was a press conference, and I was like, compañeros.
Get out! So cool. Oh my god, get out.
And I remember all of them being like, is it true that you're gay? And I was like, yes, next question. Do you like Tinky Winky? I do. This is great. Next question.
Oh man.
And I remember it. I mean, it really, like, it was such a moment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I marveled both of like how bold they were to collectively come and like how bold an entire 6th grade class was to just be like, we have questions. But also how I was like, yeah, yep, let me just answer these questions. Cool.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, so I think that was my coming out story that was my coming out to peers story for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I remember it. And I think I lost, a lot of the boys in the 6th grade stopped talking to me. Because of that.
Hmm.
And I also, all of my like girlfriends at the time became like hyper protective, and they were like, all right. So 6th grade happens. Yeah, well, the press conference happens towards the tail end of 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of have this moment where I'm like, fuck, like, I'm gonna walk into 7th grade being like the gay kid. And that's exactly what I walked into. And what happened was I walked into 7th grade as the only out queer kid at my school.
What?
There were other kids who were femme, and I think I was like, oh yeah, like I was like, okay, cool. And there were definitely like, you know, other folks who I think, you know, at the time were probably like would probably like, who were expressing, I think, like a very butch identity still, but like that, you know, it was like, oh well, you know, she's just very good at volleyball, and that's you know. And it was interesting because I was the only one who I think was like out explicitly, and as a result, I think a lot of the kids that used to get picked on, and I remember there was one kid specifically, and I can still remember this particular kid who was an 8th grader when I was a 7th grader, and who everyone, when I got to my middle school, was like, oh, you should date him. And he was like, I'm not gay, you guys. and I was like, oh, okay.
Sure.
But I also remember being like, oh shit, like I've actually said the thing. So like in our 7th grade social contract, I'm the one. As a result, I think I got I had a really difficult time. I had some I had what began as like small incidents of violence, like a spit wad, or like you get pushed or you get called a faggot. I remember somebody wrote Jesus Valles sucks big dick on a little wall on the gym. And I was like, I will rise to the challenge. And and yeah, and eventually it got physical and I got beat up. And not long after that, I started getting like phone calls, like death threats at home. Like people would call, and yeah, it got real rough. And so eventually the school called my parents and were like, hey, this is what's going on with your kid. They didn't out me. They were just like, there's a thing happening. Can one of you come to the school? Mm. My mom decided that she was going to be the one to come. And I think the night before the conference, I realized that like the parent teacher conference is parent counselor, whatever, conference is going to happen. And so I remember going to my room and I put on an episode of Dragon Ball. And I was just like watching Dragon Ball and just like, I was like, let me just like, I'm going to focus on like young Goku and like not think about my life. Mm. And I remember my mom coming into my room and asking like, is it because you're gay? Are you gay? And I just was not able to answer her. I just kept like watching the screen and I was like, my ear hurts. And she was like, okay. And she just like left. Mm. The next day there was a conference between my counselor, the school like safety officers, and the associate principal. And the reason for that was because the cop and the counselor didn't speak Spanish. So the associate principal, she spoke Spanish. And so the counselor is just she's a very sweet white lady. She was like, so we wanted to bring you in because Jesus is, he's being harassed and, he's gay. And the associate principal goes, muy bien, la tenemos aquí porque Jesús es joto. She straight up tells my mom, that's the word she used. And I remember just sitting there and I was like, what the fuck? But I couldn't say anything, right? And so, I also think my mom was just kind of like dazed and was like, well, I guess what other word could she use? So we just let it slide. I just remember sitting there and I was like, what the fuck? Está heavy. Yeah. And so my mom cried a lot, and I think she was just kind of like, I do remember her kind of being like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, is this something? And I remember her asking, and it wasn't like an accusation. I remember her asking something along the lines of like, well, did you choose this during that conference? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think I would make, I don't know that I would make the choice. Like, it's not like harassment, fun. And I remember we didn't really speak for like 2 months after that. And it wasn't bad. She wasn't like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. I don't think she could make language. I think she was like, this is new to me. I don't know how to make words about this. Mm-hmm. And so it was very like, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches.
Sometimes surviving queerness is not speaking to your mother for 2 months. Buenas tardes, buenos días, buenas noches. That's all. Or getting beat up in high school and having to hold a press conference about your desire. Sometimes surviving queerness is being guarded by many women around you, and a club like a fan-gay fraternity, sisters and nieces and nephews, many types of love. Sometimes surviving queerness is imagining a different story, and cry because it wasn't, and smile because it could be, because it happened somewhere in the heart of a magical monster in a far galaxy of queer utopia. Yes, and we survived. And here we are, yes, alive.
Entonces, yo salí del closet como, pues en mis 30s, a pesar de que yo ya sabía que no correspondía a mi vivencia con esas normas, leyes sexogenéricas, etcétera, que nos imponen. Y en mis 20s lo supe a partir de la experiencia, pero ahí, por ejemplo, no sentía que tenía que decirlo. Y no sé si era una onda como de que no sentía la necesidad de salir del closet o simplemente también era el mismo miedo de aceptar y que la gente también me reconociera. Porque pues como bien dicen, pues la identidad no solo soy yo, sino como yo en construcción y en espejo con la otra le otre el otro. Entonces en esa construcción interrelacional, de relacionalidad con los demás, es que siento que para mí durante los 30, pensando en eso, fue que pensé que era necesario nombrarme como me vivo y me siento. Y eso también fue a partir de una experiencia cercana con la muerte. Y eso fue la muerte de mi mamá, porque después de su muerte como que dije, ok, como que nunca le dije, o sea, como que yo siempre tuve ese sentimiento, pero nunca se lo dije y eso fue como, me arrepentí. Al menos se lo tengo que decir a mi papá, quien sigue vivo en este terreno, en este mundo terrenal. Y entonces lo hablé con mi papá, le dije que pues era pansexual y que no solo me gustaban los hombres cis. Fue dentro de una comida con mi hermana menor y mi hermana, eso sí, mi hermana ya lo sabía desde antes. O sea, de mi familia, mi hermana menor fue la que lo sabía, pero eso también porque mi hermana menor, ella salió del closet antes que yo.
Okay.
Y ella sí se lo contó a mi mamá y mi mamá sabía muy bien. Mi hermana también se define como pansexual y como no binaria. Entonces les dos somos no binarias y pansexuales. Y entonces a partir de esa experiencia, o sea, que también se lo agradezco a mi hermana porque pues ella también me dijo así como de, es que ya, o sea, como ya lo sabemos, lo sabes, como ya. Entonces como hablarlo con mi papá fue lindo porque fue un sentimiento como de, ok, ya, o sea, de las personas que más amo ya lo van a saber. Esa parte de mí que ya no quiero seguir ocultando. Y fue gracioso porque cuando se lo dije a mi papá, como que mi papá solo me volteó a ver y fue como de, pero pues ya lo sabíamos.
We always want our mothers to love us outside of the closet. I guess we lost hope in our fathers. Good luck if they like it. It's an extra. And then mama can't see us, mama can't hear us, mama is afraid of our fate under queerness, like a death sentence. Sometimes our mama didn't arrive quite at time when we knew or she has left before we felt safe enough to leave the closet. This is what we do. We talk to the death, and the death listen. They see us, they hear us. Maybe they fear for us still, but they say from the other side, I love you.
I remember I used to always think about this girl who was with me in all my dance classes, and I always thought like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. But I never thought of it more than, I don't know, I never put a lot of thought into that. I just thought like, oh, she's so pretty, she's so pretty. But I would almost like fantasize about her. It was, I don't know, I never told anybody. I think I was really ashamed of like me having like, I don't think there were feelings. I think it was mostly like me thinking she was hot, right? And she was sexy. And yeah, but it was like what? I don't know. And then, yeah, it was so strange. And then when I moved to DC after I finished college, like I was already 23, I think. I went to this rave and like everybody was on drugs and like, and I don't do drugs, but like everybody was like really intoxicated, and I was intoxicated on alcohol as well. And I remember I had a boyfriend at the time, and this is like terrible, but I had a boyfriend at the time, and I thought, well, if I make out with a girl, I guess it doesn't count because he's a boyfriend and it's a girl, and like, I don't know, whatever. And so I ended up making out with this girl, like really hardcore. Like I even went to her house. We didn't have sex, but like we were making out like really intensely. And then at like the next day I was like, what the fuck? Like, why did I do that? Like, am I a lesbian? Like, no, I'm not a lesbian. Like, you know, I was just having fun. And then this girl, she started texting me like, I think she liked me, and I felt really bad that I kind of like used her for like my just wanting to experiment, I don't know, or like make out with someone, I don't know. And that had never happened to me with a boy, right? I don't know. It was, I think I was going through like my what's happening with my sexuality kind of thing. And then I went to her friend's house, and she was there, and we're talking, and her friend, who was really blunt, she's like, "So are you a lesbian? Like, are you a lesbian now?" And I was like, "No." I was like, I'd never done that before. Like of course, recognizing that I had made out with her friend who was there, not like, oh, we didn't do anything, right? It was so. I don't know, like even today I'm like ooh, right, that I made out with a girl, right? So and then I went to and then that happened. She even came to see me to one of my performances. I was like, oh my god, like what is happening, you know? It's not like I wanted to ghost her or anything. I was just like, it never happened before, right? It was new. And then I came to Mexico City, and I met my current fiance, who's a man, a straight man, a cis, you know, straight man. And so we started dating, and our relationship, you know, became like great. And you know, I was pretty convinced, even when I moved to Austin, that you know we were gonna be together, right? Because we had such a great relationship, and so it seemed like things were like pretty stable, even though we were doing long distance. But then we have a friend in common, and I was talking to her about. It was Valentine's Day. I remember it was Valentine's Day, and I was saying, "Oh my God, it's Valentine's Day, and I haven't called Alan to say Happy Valentine's Day. I love you, whatever." And our friend, was like, "Oh right, I haven't called my partner either." And she said partner, the word partner, and I said, "Oh, where is he?" And then I went back and I said, "I'm sorry, I assumed it's a he." And she was like, "Oh yeah, it's a he, but you know I'm bi, right?" And it was so weird that I felt like ooh, like, oh, she's bi. And it's like, why am I feeling like she's my friend? I've never felt like that before. I mean, she's gorgeous, right? And smart, and like really, really talented. But like, and I was like thinking, why am I feeling like that girlish feeling if like there's nothing here, right? Like she's my friend, and we were just talking about boyfriends, and then I don't know. And that like stayed in my head, and I just kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking about it. And that's when I was like, oh my God, Jessica, like you're bisexual. Like, why did it take you 28 years to realize that? It's so. And then fast forward to, I think it was December of last year. Well, Mom, I think I have to tell you something. I'm bisexual. And she was like, she asked me something very strange. About like, what if she was bisexual as well? I don't know. I think it was just like a knee-jerk reaction about like, I don't know. Maybe my mom is bisexual. I don't know. But she was like, what if I am bisexual too, or what if I am gay too, or something? And I was like, what? And then, yeah, it was very strange. And then she was like, well, you know, I love you. I love my 3 children as they are, and you know, I'm always gonna love you no matter what. And like, and we were both crying. It was very dramatic. And remember, I came to Mexico. She was driving me to the airport in Reynosa so that I could come to Mexico City, where Alan lives, to see Alan. And I talked to Alan, and I told him that day, like, I have to tell you something. Like, I'm bisexual. And I was just bawling, right? Like crying so much because not because of the coming out part. I knew Alan was gonna accept me because he loves me as I am. But it was such a like, I don't know, like this like breaking of like who the image of who Jessica is.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I talked to Alan, and Alan, just hugged me, and he was like, I love you. And then a couple of days after, we talked about it, and he asked me like, can you like tell me what does it mean that you're bisexual? I just want to know. And I'm like, well, it doesn't change anything in a relationship, right? I'm just discovering a part of myself that I didn't know existed. And it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that I want to go make out with all the girls in the world. Like, doesn't, I just am like acknowledging and accepting that, and like kind of like learning to love that, and also forgive myself for not accepting myself before.
It's never too late to kiss a woman. It's never too late to cry with your mom, because we are what we are in a world of hate for that. Coming out late just because it's an act of freedom. Coming out at all as a tribute to oneself, an act of unification, a gesture of radical acceptance, an act of forgiveness. Coming out to oneself on the silence of a mental conversation, a quiet whisper. Better late than ever, we say. Better now than never, we say. The future is now.
Yo salí del closet, bueno, salí del closet otra vez. Yo escapé, pues, en el 2014. No fue una experiencia bonita. Sí tuve una experiencia de intentarlo antes, en preparatoria, porque ya estaba en universidad cuando escapé, ¿no? Yo me di cuenta que era mejor quedarme callado. No, era más seguro.
Okay.
Cuando finalmente se hace, cuando finalmente lo hago, cuando finalmente escapo, no fue por una cuestión de convicción, de como lo voy a hacer, ¿no? Sino fue por fue por un accidente y un miedo mío. Y estoy en proceso de irme. Me recibo mi visa, recibo mi boleto de avión, o sea, ya estoy listo para irme a Estambul a realizar un semestre de intercambio. En ese inter, dije, bueno, pues ya, o sea, logré esto, pues yo puedo hacer todo, ¿no?
Claro.
Entonces, pues empecé a meterme en aplicaciones y descargué Grindr. Un sujeto mayor, yo tendría, ¿cuántos años tengo? Tengo 27. Tenía 21, pues, 21. Me contacta, empezamos a hablar, empezamos a platicar con esas aplicaciones. Él decía tener 43 años, que era como un señor mayor. Total, fui a su casa. Un día dije, no, pues voy a ir a su casa. No tenía 43 años, tenía como 57, tal vez 60 años. Y yo me acuerdo que me congelé cuando lo vi porque, no, o sea, para ese momento de mi vida no había estado con tantos hombres, pero todos estaban siempre en mi rango de edad, no era la primera persona mayor con la que yo estaba. Y luego el hecho como de darme cuenta de este señor me mintió de su edad,
Claro,
me catfishó con su edad, pues no está chido, ¿no? Pero en ese momento yo no sabía cómo interpretarlo, o sea, era como está bien, no pasa nada, ¿no?
Sí, sí.
Nada más lo que tenía bien claro era como no quiero besarlo, o sea, no quiero besarlo porque no me podía quitar de la mente esta idea de que no, o sea, no, porque me he hecho mentiras.
Claro, claro. Sí.
Igual, y quién sabe, si me hubiera dicho eso, igual hubiera venido, no sé, o sea. Y pues cogí con él, yo la hice de pasivo en ese momento, no sé qué tan explícito pueda ser, pero pues.
Todo lo que quieras.
En ese momento pues yo tenía realmente cero educación sexual, ¿no? Viniendo de escuela católica, familia católica, no hay. Entonces para mí la idea del condón ni por acá, ¿no? O sea.
Claro.
Lo que yo he visto en el porno es pelón, ¿no? O
sí,
sea,
claro.
Está bien. Y si el güey quiere terminar adentro, pues que termine adentro. O sea,
Claro.
el sábado tengo una plática con un compañero y hablamos justamente de el sexo. Y Y no sé por qué se me ocurrió decirlo al final de la plática como no se te olvide cuidarte, ¿no? O sea, siempre uso un condón. Y ya, así cortamos la plática. Y luego a mí me cayó el 20 de,
Claro.
cabrón, ¿por qué estoy dando estos consejos si yo no lo hice?
Claro.
Y entonces fue un shock bien pesado. O sea, me empezaron a girar un chorro de ideas, de que había hecho, ¿no? Y un sentido de culpa muy cabrón. Eso fue un sábado, domingo, y la noche del domingo al lunes no pude dormir. Me la pasé investigando como qué era el VIH, cómo identificas el VIH, dónde te haces pruebas. O sea, bien mal informado, sí. Y informándome de Google, que es lo peor todavía.
Pero al menos.
Entonces, yo el martes en la mañana amanecí con todos los síntomas. O sea, amanecí con fiebre, me dolía la garganta, me estresé tanto que me salieron como estas ulceritas blancas que salen dentro de la boca, y ese puede ser uno de los síntomas, ¿no? Y fue, ¿y ahora qué hago? O sea,
Claro, Dios
no he acabado la carrera y en un mes me estoy yendo a Turquía. Después de lo que había pasado con mi mamá antes, yo tenía una relación un poco más cercana. Entonces dije, pues ni modo, o sea, le tengo que decir.
Ay, pucha, sí.
Y le dije, ¿no? Y le dije, mamá, o sea, tengo que hacer una prueba de VIH.
Ay.
Y mi mamá así como ¿qué? Pues tengo que hacerme una prueba de VIH. Y pues le expliqué, pues tuve relaciones con, o sea, me acosté con un hombre. O sea, me gustan los vatos, ¿no? Y a veces sí lo pienso con mi mamá, no, güey, qué duro, o sea, qué duro, porque no nada más es una cosa de que el güey sea marica, o sea, aparte es como el llama hacer un examen médico, ¿no?
Claro.
Y mi mamá que vive completamente fuera de ese espectro.
Claro.
Entonces fuimos así, eso fue el martes, el miércoles ya estaba yo en el laboratorio. Y me la hice la prueba, y me acuerdo que después leí eso de los 15 días, y yo sí, mi mamá estaba como bueno, pues a ver qué hice la prueba, pero yo por dentro me estaba carcomiendo porque era yo sé que no me va a decir nada, o sea.
Claro.
Y así fueron 2-3 días donde mi mamá estuvo muy cercana conmigo. ¿Por qué estuvo muy cercana? No sé si era por compasión, no sé qué era, pero estuvo muy cercana conmigo. O sea, lo que nunca hicimos, mi mamá no es de llevarnos así como a pasear a lugares como naturales, nada por el estilo, pero o sea, que a mí me gusta, entonces era bueno, vamos a ir a ver la montaña, o vamos a ir a ver esto. De nuevo, no sé si era porque pensó que me iba a ir, no sé,
Sí.
pero lo hizo, ¿no? Y a mí se me hizo bien bonito, como ay, qué buena onda, o sea, qué bueno que tuve este encuentro con mi mamá. El gusto me duró 2 días. Después se vino todo para abajo, fue como no. Me acuerdo que yo estaba en mi cuarto y me dijo, tienes hoy para decirle a tu papá. Si no le dices tú, le voy a decir yo. Pero no puede pasar de hoy.
¿Por qué?
No sé por qué hizo eso. Entonces estaba yo viendo así por la ventana como llovía, y se acerca mi papá y me dice, sí sabes que lo que me tengas que decir no va a afectar como te quiera, ¿verdad? Y yo como sí, se va, papá. Me dice, bueno, ok, hablamos después. Y ya en la noche me senté y ni siquiera le dije que era marica. Le dije que me tuve que ir a hacer una prueba de VIH. Y mi papá, ok. Me preguntó cómo te dan los resultados. Y yo, ¿ya me los dieron? Son negativos. Ok, pero él sí le expliqué, pero no estoy haciendo otra prueba de VIH. O sea, esta no me está diciendo nada. Me dice, ok. Y él me dijo, eso no se lo vamos a decir a tu mamá, ¿verdad? Y yo, no se lo vamos a decir a mamá. Ya sé, me dijo, no estoy de acuerdo, no me parece, pero eres mi hijo y te voy a seguir queriendo igual.
Wow.
Sí, o sea, sí fue como en ese momento como bueno, al menos estaba él, pero el gusto me duró igual, así. Porque luego se levantó, agarró un cuchillo y un tenedor y me dijo, estos son tuyos. Y esos son los que quiero que uses porque no quiero que tu hermana se vaya a infectar si tienes algo.
Joder.
Y a eso se suma que mi mamá en la mañana me había dicho quiero que tu ropa me la separes porque yo no sé qué estás haciendo tú en la cama y no quiero que nos infectes a todos para que yo lavarla aparte. Y me puso una regla bien, bien clara. Si quieres vivir en esta casa, tiene que ser soltero. O sea, no puedes tener pareja si quieres vivir en esta casa, no en este techo. Y lo último fue, y a lo mejor tienes que pensar en cancelar tu viaje. La idea era, o sea, lo que dijo mi papá, o sea, lo que me entendió mi papá, algo así era como tu mamá está deprimida, es tu culpa y te tienes que ser responsable de eso. Pero también dijo, ahora, tú todavía no tienes el resultado. Si te vas, regresas y sale positivo, no te la vas a sacar con tu mamá nunca. Entonces, o sea, yo me puse muy mal, muy, muy, muy mal, porque pues era algo académico que quería hacer, se me cerró completamente la puerta, ¿no?
Claro, claro.
Aparte que mi mamá me hizo la vida imposible, pero imposible
¿Sí?
ese año, o sea, después de salir me la hizo muy difícil, tuve que dejar de ver a muchos amigos, ya no, o sea, la idea de yo salir y que hubiera otro hombre era imposible, o sea, no, yo no podía estar con otro hombre, ¿no? Porque pues yo era un depravado. Y ir a grupos de iglesia, ir a grupos de cualquier cosa que, como dijo mi mamá, me acuerdo que mi mamá me agarraba las manos y me decía, vamos a orar para que te cures. Y yo le decía, pero es que yo no pienso que es una enfermedad. Bueno, tú no, pero a lo mejor Dios sí. Y yo, qué pesado que tiene que estar enfermo, ¿no?
Claro, claro.
Ese fue un año muy duro, muy, muy duro. Y así fue como salí del closet.
We don't come out of the closet all the times. We're kicked out of it. We're dragged out of it. The closet disappears at the gates of some singularity. A virus to say something, and suddenly the safe place is gone. And your family fears you, as if the virus were an omnipresent monster ready to make them sick. And you are left alone, no closet, no comfortable thin walls to guard yourself from violence.
The archive is sad like the earth, like the trees when you see them hanging, like the sun is sad when it's leaving every day just like nature. The archive is sad like the earth.
So one of the questions I have for this project is, how do you heal a story, which is in like a very humble amount. How is it that you can heal stories of the past that maybe are not ideal, or that are even violent and difficult? So one of the tools that I have found that it's like common in theater, like theater of the oppressed, but also like some other like device theater things that I've studied, is this thing of recreating or reenactment, where you get to sort of replay something the way you wanted it to be. And in that replay or reenactment, there is some sort of a tiny little bit of healing or some sort of relief or something happens there. And so I just wanted to invite you, and of course this goes as wherever you want to take it.
Iván, me hablaron en la escuela. ¿Estás bien? Sí. ¿Qué está pasando? No, es que unos chavos me están molestando. ¿Y por qué? No sé. ¿Porque estás gordito? No. Entonces, ¿es porque eres aplicado o por qué? No sé. ¿Es porque eres gay? Sí. Ah. ¿Y estás bien? Sí. Ok. Okay.
Mamá, pues te quiero decir que recuerdo mucho un momento en 2018, marzo de 2018, nuestro último viaje juntas con mi hermana, tú y yo, que fuimos al primer encuentro de mujeres que luchan cerca de San Cristóbal de las Casas, Chiapas, organizado por las mujeres zapatistas, y hubo un ritual muy poderoso con oración, liderado por Lorena Cabnal, donde ella dijo que todas las personas que no se identificaban como heterosexuales y que salían de la norma como sexogenérica, que dieran un paso al centro para ser pues bendecidas. Y yo di un paso al centro junto con mi hermana. Mi hermana fue primero y tú estabas en ese círculo. Y yo fui después y nos hizo la bendición Lorena Carnal. Y yo sentí que en ese momento era como un salir del closet para mí enfrente de ti, aunque nunca lo dije explícitamente. Y tú no dijiste nada, pero recuerdo que, o sea, como recuerdo tu cara como de sorpresa, porque supongo que solo esperabas que mi hermana diera un paso al frente, pero también lo hice yo. Y como que me arrepiento porque obviamente no sabía lo que iba a suceder meses después en ese año. Y, o sea, que ibas a partir y te ibas a transformar en otra energía. Y te quiero decir que ese paso que di hacia el frente, donde iba a ser bendecida por no ser una persona eh, hetero y que salía además pues de las normas de género, ese paso que di para mí era decirte lo que ahora te quiero decir explícitamente, que es que pues o sea, no me siento ni me sentí nunca solo atraída a hombres cis. Siempre sentí que mi sexualidad era mucho más fluida y que no me gustaba entrar en categorías tampoco de género. También sentí que mi género era muy fluido y tuve mucho miedo en decirlo antes, eh, desde mis 20, porque tenía miedo de la reacción tuya, de mi papá, pero en general como de la gente del mundo. Y después de tu muerte, como que me dolió mucho no habértelo dicho. Y siento que con ese paso que di corporalmente te lo dije y tal vez no se necesitaban palabras, sino fue pues un acuerdo en silencio, pero quiero usar este momento para decírtelo así, que me arrepiento de no habértelo dicho y me hubiera encantado escuchar tu respuesta y tus palabras a lo que tenías que decir, aunque yo sé que energéticamente ese día eh, sentí que todo estaba bien después de ahí. Y pues nada, que siento que a partir de tu partida de este mundo terrenal y tu transformación a un ser de luz, de otra dimensión, siento aún así como tu abrazo y tu amor en este nuevo camino, cuando ya estoy transformando pues quién soy y cómo me identifico, y sé que pues parte de honrarte es abrazar esa parte de mí sin miedo. Entonces te agradezco también ese ejemplo como de valentía y de amor y de abrirme a todo lo que venga al mundo. Y gracias, mamá, por ser inspiración y por ser, pues porque dejas tu legado también en mí y es parte de ese legado que yo quiero abrazar y seguir siendo honesta con quien soy. Gracias. Y te amo y te extraño. Eh, pues yo te quiero decir, como tu mamá, que acepto, abrazo, no solo acepto, sino más bien abrazo y amo todas tus facetas, todo lo que eres en todas las múltiples cambios que has tenido durante toda tu vida y que en esta nueva etapa estoy orgullosa de ti porque sigues siendo honesta contigo y no debes de tener miedo de nada, ni del mundo, ni de nada, y las personas que van a estar contigo y te van a amar son las que ya tienes ahora, así que no tengas miedo y yo estoy aquí protegiéndote y cuidándote siempre, pero quiero decirte que sigo estando muy orgullosa de ti y que gracias por decírmelo.
Yeah, just know that I'm here for myself, and that, yeah, um, I just hope that I can be a person that people can come out of the closet to and feel that I'm going to give them like a word of love, a little bit of like support if they need support, that I'm going to help them feel accepted by themselves, and that yeah, I think I want to be that person for other people, but first I have to be that person for myself, right? Which is so hard. Yeah, and know that everything's going to be fine.
Es secundaria y estoy en un taller de dibujo y le digo a mi mamá que escuché una palabra nueva, que no nueva, sino que nunca la había escuchado tan cerca, pues. Y es que un chico nuevo entró al taller, un chico que me parecía muy, muy femenino, y su mamá habló con la maestra y le había comentado que, pues que era, y esta es la palabra que le dije a mi mamá, dijo que era gay. Entonces nada más para que pues se lo cuidara mucho, ¿no? Porque a veces lo molestaban. Y ella me dijo que estaba bien, me dijo, pues sí, hay gente que es así y está muy bien, no tiene nada de malo, así vas a conocer gente en tu vida y pues no le impide ser tu amigo. Le dije a mi mamá en ese mismo tiempo que me gustaba un chico de mi salón, pero que no sabía cómo sentirme. O sea, secundaria, cuando le dije a mi mamá que me gustaba este man. No me lo guardé, se lo dije. Y me dijo que estaba bien. Me dijo que estaba muy bien. Sí me dijo, estás muy chico para tener un novio, pero está muy bien. Tuve que hacer una prueba de VIH. Mi mamá se preocupó mucho, pero me aseguró que estábamos bien, que no pasaba nada, que el resultado que fuera no iba a importar, que ya hablaríamos en su momento sobre que, pues, lo que ya sabía, ¿no? Que me gustaban los chicos, y que hablaríamos sobre educación sexual. De todas maneras, no quise irme a Perú, a Turquía. Quise quedarme en la casa, no presionado, sino porque yo quería quedarme, yo quería como saber que todo estaba bien.
I am ready to run emotional renders of my possible scenarios. I will evaluate how they feel from the inside.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking a lot about how big very small things feel, right? That I think there was a lot of rooms I could have walked into when you were like replay a conversation, and I think in a lot of ways I really wonder what it might have felt like to have told my mom, to have just said yes the first time she asked when she was called to come into the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Before the conference happened, right? Like, how would the conversation have been different? How would that yes have been different had it not come from like a cop and a counselor and a principal? It had just come from me in my bedroom with my mother. And yeah, and I think, I also think there's a lot to be said about, I have this conversation a lot with my friend Taji. We talk a lot about, or one thing we talk about often is that, like, I think for as like pop psychology as that idea of the inner child, I think sounds sometimes. I do think a lot of us carry versions of our younger self. I think a lot of times when we talk about these moments, we like, it isn't that we're looking back. We are smuggling our younger selves into their future.
Yeah.
And to be in our present. And I think we're also letting them know that they lived. And that felt really like important in the exercise. And I think it felt very affirming to do this very small thing, to just say yes to my mother when she asked the first time. And then to have her just be okay with it, just say nothing else. Okay. I think it was also good.
Pero pensar en cómo me hubiera gustado estar, eso sí fue muy difícil. Pero también fue muy bello como poder estarme viendo en la foto y poder como saber que esa alternativa existe, ¿no? Que seguramente en algún universo paralelo pasó, ¿no? Y que esa persona está bien. O sea, esa persona está, no que yo no esté bien, vaya, pero que esa persona no caminó eso que solamente yo y otros tuvimos que caminar, ¿no? Y que da un sentido de tranquilidad muy bello.
I'm ready. I am ready. I am ready.
La otra es que también, obviamente, cuestiono el concepto de salir del closet porque pues no es obligatorio. O sea, ¿por qué nosotros? Justo eso como que de alguna forma reafirmaría el sistema heteropatriarcal, sexista, etcétera, en el que vivimos, donde si sales de esa norma, eres tú quien está orillado a convertirte en la otredad y hacerlo explícito. Y entonces, por esa cuestión es que no me gusta la idea de salir del closet, porque es como de, ¿por qué me obligan a hacerlo, no? O por qué existe esa idea, pero para mí no era ese el objetivo, sino era más bien en esa construcción como de relacionalidad y también como un statement político de construcción de comunidad, ¿no? Así como de, bueno, al final del día, si puedo decirlo hoy, es también porque muchas amigues antes o muchas personas antes de otras generaciones pelearon para tener espacios. Entonces, como que dije, pues también es una cuestión como política, un statement político de construcción de comunidad y también como de relacionalidad con otros.
but I think it's still like something you have to do that puts a lot of pressure on you and like trauma. And I, like in my case, I think I'm super privileged, right? I'm not even going to talk about myself, but I think it puts a lot of pressure on people. Like, are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And if you don't do it, like your friends, even like, I've heard stories of people like getting upset. It's like, why doesn't he just tell me that he's gay? It's like, well, why does he have to? Right? It's like, and it's because it becomes about the friends, and it becomes about the family when it's something that's, I think it's like 21st century, like, why is this such a thing that you have to, like, of course it is, like, there's no like going around it, but it just, I feel like it's a lot of labor and a lot of pressure for people.
No me gusta esta idea como de salir del closet, porque, o sea, no es un, o sea, no es un me encerré yo solo, ¿sabes? O sea, no es un yo me mantuve aquí, sino es la condición y el sentido de la supervivencia económica, familiar, del hogar, en cuanto a cuestión de tener un techo, pues es lo que te encierra ahí, ¿no? Lo que me encerró a mí. Entonces, a lo mejor no salir, sino escapar